talk about what's going on at the G20. It's like World Economic Forum has invaded the G20. So, the G20 leaders, these are people who are mostly elected, right?
They are supposed to be elected.
They're supposed to be elected, right, when you go
Yes.
to the G20. Except if you're Bill Gates and Klaus Schwab and some of these other guys.
It's specifically an intergovernmental forum.
Yeah.
And so you are supposed to be an elected leader in order to join.
So can I just ask, who the hell elected Klaus Schwab? Did you? Did anybody in our chat elect Klaus Schwab? Did anybody elect Bill Gates? So they get to go and they get to lay out policy. What you really see is the supreme leader just showed up to deliver a speech. And they basically announced the new world order. The G20, here's your ruler, Klaus Schwab. Forget the Great Reset. Right, we've heard about the Great Reset, which is already in motion, is actively in motion. It's not a conspiracy theory at all. In fact, they wrote about it, promoted it, talked about it, and are actively unfolding the Great Reset. Now, though, the big roadblock and what his big concern is a new phrase called the Great Segmentation. The Great Segmentation. That's a big problem for Klaus Schwab, and this is why we are going to now need to move more towards a unipolar order where we have one unelected leader ruling everything. That's basically what he's asking for. Watch this.
The people at Discovery Channel came to me and asked me to do the impossible, go undercover and show the world how fast it would take me to build $1 million business. In fact, they asked me to build $1 million business with no money, no contacts, only $100. That's no money, by the way. And I had to build $1 million business in 90 days. Well, not only did I do it in Undercover Billionaire, but I crushed it.
Of course, if we look at all the challenges, we can speak about the multi-crisis, an economic, a political, a social, an ecological, an institutional crisis. But actually, what we have to confront is a deep, systemic, and structural restructuring of our world. And this will take some time. And the world will look differently after we have gone through this transition process. Politically, the driving forces for this political transformation, of course, is the transition into a multipolar world, which has a tendency to make our world much more fragmented. And for these reasons, events like this one, the G20, and so on, are the very important connectors to avoid a too great segmentation.
Too great, the segmentation. So a segmentation.
Wasn't there, if memory serves, I'm 52 now. Well, I'm still 51, but I'm going to be 52. If memory serves, wasn't there another German person that wanted to kind of take over the world at one point in history?
Yeah, you're right.
Because that kind of sounds like this.
I don't think you were alive during that German person.
No, I don't think I was
52
alive, but I think there's still
the math doesn't add up to
Yeah.
that. You're still a baby.
So that's the great problem, right? The problem to Klaus Schwab's mind is that you as a sovereign country are in his way.
What happened to the woke left telling us diversity is a strength? Why is fragmentation a bad thing?
Because it gets in the way of their climate initiatives, right? Which is to get you off of eating meat, which moves us to a carbon neutral environment.
A synthetic existence.
A synthetic existence where your country maybe grew up, for hundreds of years, grew cotton or grew soybeans or grew coffee.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're going to tell you that under this new unipolar order, you're not going to grow soybeans. You're not going to grow coffee anymore because we've already figured that out. That's going to happen over here in Minnesota, in the United States. So it's not going to happen in your country anymore. Now, what you are going to do in your country is you are going to make, T-shirts or something. That's what's going to happen. Like we're going to make this unipolar economy.
That is quite literally the dystopic setting for the Hunger Games.
And that's what's happening. Like, you're witnessing in action. Just look at what's happening in the Netherlands farmers, the Dutch farmers right now. Look what's happening in New Zealand with the farmers.
Yeah, District 12, you are coal miners. District 10, you're clothes makers.
Right.
Yeah, exactly right.
So stop
know
doing
what's
these other
crazy is-
things, and you just need to stick to the coal mining.
It's like Alex Jones used to call this stuff out, and it was like happening in secret. Like they were having secret meetings, and there was all this stuff going on. And he's like, we're going to their meetings, like we're trying to shine light on. But now they're just outright doing it out in public. They don't give a shit anymore. They're just out here telling us their plan, and there are people backing it up.
Yeah, and not even just backing it up. Like, oh, that sounds like a kind of a fun idea. No, they're actively doing it, and not even just backing it up, actively putting it in place. I mean, all you need to do is just look at what the Democrats just passed with this Inflation Reduction Act. There's nothing about inflation reduction. All it is a big wet kiss for the World Economic Forum and this whole plan.
Yes, it's expensive. It will come at the expense of a lot of GDP. And so my question is, who's he talking to that doesn't already know this agenda? Is he saying things for us where we're like, oh, that sounds good. Everyone lives in harmony. We like that. We don't want to be fragmented. Or is he talking to the leaders in the room who are like, yeah, say this, massage this message so that we can implement it? Like, what's
That's a good
for?
question. That's a good question. I mean, because he's not taught, like most people who, you're watching this show, so hopefully you are awakened. You're understanding like that these are the stories we follow. The mainstream media doesn't cover this. The mainstream media does not cover what the World Economic Forum is doing to people. They do not cover it. They cover it up. They're part of it. They're mouthpieces of it. Heck, Bloomberg Television has a whole green thing that they do. They have like Bloomberg Green, and they are literally interviewing people as part of this. They're part of it. It's all part of it. So
Well, I think
I don't know who they're talking to.
Sometimes, I was gonna say, it's to save their asses. I think sometimes in the middle of the night they might do a blog post, or they might do like a little segment in a show, so that if anybody ever is like, CNN, you didn't do, like, they'd be like, no, well, we did. It's on page 97 of our blog down at the bottom.
Right.
In the middle of the night.
I don't know
Yeah,
who's
but
to- I'm- I only
who's in the
unpack-
audience, right?
Well,
Is
it's all these world
Biden
leaders, their
there
lackeys.
taking notes?
Anthony
Or-
Blinken. Well, Biden's falling asleep. Biden's asleep during this. He fell asleep.
Although, how old is he now? He's 73, 74?
Biden?
Yeah.
Isn't he 78 or 76?
78.
I don't know.
So for a man like that to travel to Bali and change so many times.